let's start with you.
Okay. So yesterday, I learned from Mr. Babalola Imam how to give first aid to somebody who is having a seizure.
Right.
The first thing you should do when somebody is having a seizure is make sure the environment is safe. There are no sharp objects or wild animals around. Then you do not restrain the person having a seizure. And put a pillow or cloth at the back of the person's head to avoid the person from hitting their head and getting injured. If the seizure lasts for more than 5 minutes and the person hasn't recovered after 10 minutes, you call the emergency service because anybody who is having a seizure will finish. So the emergency service numbers are 112 for Lagos and 767. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. You sound like a paramedic right now, you know? Like, who would have thought that just coming to Career Summer School, you can be equipped with so much information that you can confidently um, give tips like that? You know, Ayo sounds like a real professional paramedic right now. And that's awesome. We also busted some myth on the show yesterday. What some people think, they say, oh, when somebody is convulsing or when some give the person milk or put spoon in the person's teeth, you know, all those things. We talked about what people do wrongly and we learned how to do rightly. Over to you, Shaitan.
So, Mr. Babalola gave us few tips on what to do if someone slumps. He said that we should ensure the environment is safe from is hazardous and safe. He also said that we should check if the person is breathing. We should tap his or her shoulder and call out his or her name, and also call out his or her name and see if he's still breathing. If he's not breathing, if he or she is not breathing, we should conduct a CPR by compressing the center of the person's chest 30 times and really fast. And he also said that uh, we should call emergency service 112 and 764. And he said if the person is still breathing, we should turn the person over to his side. If
Great.
the person is unconscious and still breathing.
If the person is unconscious but still breathing,
Yeah.
and of course, you get to do these things after you have called the emergency line for the person you
Yes.
call the emergency line and while you're waiting for that to do some of those things. All right. So that is just a tip of the iceberg in comparison to all the amazing things that we still have lined up for you. If you are on social media, you can join us live on Instagram at Focus Counseling. We're also streaming live on YouTube. And here's what I want the online family to do. If you are studying, if you are in school virtually with us this morning, drop a comment in the chat, right? One thing you should also be aware of is it gets interactive with time. When the speakers come up, the speakers come to share stuff. Take note if you have any question. If you're in the VI center or if you are here in the Keja center, make sure you take notes. If you have questions, you can pass them to our officials. And we can actually get those questions live to the studio here where we get to ask the speaker your question and you get answers to your question live. If that's not cool, then tell me what is. All right, so before we get into today's session, I would like to bring to your attention some of our amazing sponsors that have partnered with us to ensure that today's session and the entire Career Summer School is something seamless, smooth, and enjoyable for every one of us. I want to give a special shout out to our friends at Wema Bank PLC. Shout outs to Right Foods Limited. Of course, we are shouting out to the Association of Private Educators of Nigeria, APEN, Taiwo Akilami Academy, and of course, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, City of David Center. Our media team, volunteers, and entire participants all over Nigeria and, of course, across the world, which includes you. We want you to know that we appreciate you, and it's good to know that you are here with us today. Without further ado, because there's so much to be done today, I am right now going to welcome our first speaker for today. Our speaker for today is one who has passion for you, for me, for us. She is driven to see that we are better at everything that is that we are planned to do. So just in case you would love to be a banker, right? If you would love to be a banker, then this is for you. You know, Aya wants to be. Did you tell me what to be yesterday?
In newscast.
Yes, look at that. She wants to be in the media. She wants to delve into media. media, mass communication, and so she definitely should be looking out for VG Adams when he comes through, right? There's a lot she can learn from it, and she's already practicing that. But in case you are the type who would love to be a banker, you would love to have a career in the banking world, then this particular session is something that you have to look out for. Our speaker this morning is currently leading the corporate sustainability and responsibility team of Wema Bank PLC. They provide digital solutions for societal impact. She has been on the forefront in driving inclusive socio-economic initiatives with focus on making societal impact on youth and of course women. Also, she has led a lot of women empowerment initiatives, which include capacity building, skill acquisition, budgeting, and planning, and financial inclusion and literacy. She leverages her positive energy to encourage and develop others around her. And all of this energy she's bringing to the Career Summer program today. She hopes to use this untiring commitment of hers to make impact in all spheres of life. I am personally looking forward to this session, and you should. We'll take a break right now, and when we are back, I'll tell you exactly who it is and how you can stay with us. Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, yes. Check mic 1 2 1 2.
Thank you.
After like 10 minutes.
Just give him a sign.
Just you understand.
Okay.
You know what to do.
I love what goes into all of this.
That nobody gets to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome yet again. It is Career Summer Program 2021. I'm so excited about our first speaker today. Like I said before we took that break, she is the leader of the Corporate Sustainability and Responsibility team of the prestigious Wema Bank PLC, who have been so kind. They are actually supporting us on this as well. So please let's make welcome Mrs. Abimbola Agbejule. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Glad to be here. And
Great.
thank you so much. I believe you've all been having an awesome time.
Yes.
You should say a big thank you to FOCAD because for bringing this together at this point in time is very important.
Absolutely.
And for my organization, we are actually particular about youth development. You know, there's so many things to do with the youth at this time. They're the future. And if you look at the Nigerian demographic, you have almost 70% of us out of the over 200 million that are youth. So what else can we do? How do we grow this mind? How do we engage them? How do we make them become the best of themselves in the future? And I'm happy that we have people speaking now, people actually leading, people inspiring, and you guys should take advantage of the opportunity as it is right now. I'm glad to be here, and I know you will learn a lot from us. You learn great things from all the other speakers as well, and you have something to hold on to when you resume back in school in September.
Absolutely. I must say you have a really nice voice.
Oh, thank
You
you.
do have a
So I
nice
need to
voice.
join you in the media. And that brings me to what we're talking about today, career. So what you need to learn is something called hot skills and be flexible so that you can fit in into any organization that you wish and any profession that you want in life.
Right. Fantastic. So, before I let you, I know you have a lot to share with us this morning. Before you delve into the crux of it, I remember, growing up, like let's talk 20 years ago now. There were some jobs that are the in thing right now that were not even existing at all. For example, a social media manager, there was nothing like that back then. But there are some careers, or will I say professions, that have endured the test of time over
True.
the years, like medicine, for example, and engineering and all those ones, plus banking. I remember growing up, it was just this thing about people believing that the bankers were the wealthiest. And if you are a banker, you don't blow.
You're
You know?
absolutely right. I think it's just a myth.
Right. So I'm sure you're going to bust all those myths today and share with us, especially people who want to start a career or build a career in banking and other areas as well. So once again, you are absolutely welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I do hope that all of us have something great to learn this morning. Like he's mentioned, everyone here, when you hear of what a bank, all that comes to mind is money. But outside of banking, a lot of people are making so much money. You just have to apply yourself. But notwithstanding, you can still make great success as a banker. Banking has changed, it has evolved over time. And there are all skills in banking because most of the jobs are being automated. So when I say automation, maybe before now, in my parents' days, you have to pick up a tally to use at the bank. But now with an app, things are changing, things are evolving. You don't need to come into the bank. You don't even have any human interface. All you do is within the comfort of your home and get it done. So I will delve into my presentation. Thank you so much. And I expect that you have a lot of questions, and I'll be waiting for your questions so that we can take them one after the other. So I have on my outline, I have definition of terms, the great bankers of our time, hot skills. I'm sure you heard me mention something around hot skills. What are the key departments in the bank? When you go to a bank, what do you see? Then the future of banking, as you know, things are evolving, things are changing, technology is changing a lot of stuff. Lifelong learning, resources that is required for lifelong learning. I'm sure everybody, you've been to a bank at one point in time. I know what bank means. So a bank is actually a financial institution where individuals, companies, organizations, governments keep their money or also borrow money. The word bank is from a Middle French name, banquier. So when you hear bank, so it's not an English word per se. It was coined from the French word. and Italians call it banca, and the German, so you have different terms. In Nigeria, because we also speak local dialect, so because we're in Lagos, I can tell you about what it means in Yoruba. A bank is Ile Ifowopamo. So you just look at that in different ways. And so what do you do in a bank? Tell me. I'm sure you know some of the things. Can write it down on a piece of paper, and if you're fast enough, during the question and answer session that I'll ask you. So you can deposit money, you can pay money, you can get money from the bank. You can also do investments. You can do, so you have your piggy bank in the house. When it's up to some amount of money, you can take it to the bank and start running an account for yourself. Your parents can manage an account for you as well, which is encouraged. We also do something called revenue collections. So if you live in a town, you pay taxes. I'm sure you've heard about taxes before. And so bank, you can pay your taxes into the bank. There's something new in banking called sustainable and inclusive finance, which is one of the things you're experiencing now, that no one is left behind. Have you guys heard about the Sustainable Development Goals? You need to check it out. This says 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And so there's a set of goals that have been said that in the year 2030, they don't want to leave anyone behind. And banks are involved now. Before now, it used to be governments, other private sector, but it is critical for banks to be part of it now. And that's why we have something called sustainable and inclusive finance, getting everybody involved. So when you say career, I'm sure you have an understanding of what career means. Career is what you want to do in life, what you want to become, what are the opportunities for you to become what you desire. So I'm sure a lot of us, because we're familiar with the basic things, so you say, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an engineer. There are new things now. I want to be a social media expert. I want to be a digital marketing expert. I want to be a data analyst. There's so many. I want to be a sustainability expert. I want to work in the public sector. I want to be an administrator. So you want to be able to work with the government. I also want to be a politician. It's a career as well. So I want to be whatever you can think of, because all of these things keep evolving over time. So I'll talk about great bankers over time. So I'll talk about my own bank MD. His name is Ademola Adebise, and it will amaze you because when you hear banking, you only think of people in social sciences, but banking has evolved. As a matter of fact, Demola Adebise had a first degree in computer science. So when you hear computer science, all you hear is about engineering, but he's a banker. You have another bank MD, the First Bank of Nigeria. The MD is a veterinary science, a vet doctor, becoming a bank MD. So you can see that there are opportunities everywhere. Look at the MD of BlackRock. BlackRock is the largest money management firm in the world. The guy studies political science. So you expect this guy to be in the political setting, should have a political career. But meanwhile, he's a bank MD. Because things are changing, things are evolving. You also have Mrs. Brown Dockett. She's the president of American Bankers Association. And her first degree is finance and marketing. So for her, you think that, oh, he's expected to be in a bank. So it is dynamic. And I have friends and colleagues that are pharmacists that are bankers. And so you'd be amazed at what's the pharmacist doing in banking? So things have changed, things have evolved. I have somebody that studied biochemistry. Biochemistry is a banker. The person was an ex-MD of a bank. So you can see that the opportunities are vast, and anyone can learn and become a great banker. But what you need to do is to apply yourself. Look for something called the hot skills. So what are the hot skills? Number one, you need to be able to think critically as an individual. You need to love data. So you hear that data is a new oil. So if you don't have data, there's no way you can plan. There's no way you can be able to provide for the people. There's no way to be able to understand your niche market or where you need to be. You need to also have a good problem-solving skill. So what problems are the people having? Look at your environment. What problem can I solve? What are the things that people need that I can provide and get them to have it actually own? So there's so many problems out there, ranging from food, shelter, clothing. Those are the basic ones. But there are other problems that you can look at that nobody is exploring. So for instance, somebody even packaging is a problem that people don't even look at. Let's say, for instance, I produce things on the farm. How do I package it to get to the end users? So things like, I don't know if you guys can write it somewhere. There's something called omalata.com. What she's done is to blend but she's bringing in money. So those are the things that you need at the moment, the hard skills. What are the hard skills? And you also need to look at something called the softer skill, the core skills, or the other side of the curve, which is something that is important. Number one, emotional intelligence. How do you perceive people? How do you see people? Are you sensitive to the people in your environment? Are you empathetic? You need to grow these skills at a tender age. And that's why the country can be a better society. These things are taught as you're growing up. It forms part of the culture. Leadership, take responsibility of a leader. Don't say because I'm not, I don't hold the leadership position, so I'm not responsible. You need to take that leadership position at whatever stage or position that you found yourself. Fluency in other languages. How about learning how other people speak? Learn French, learn German, learn Spanish, learn the local languages. Are you fluent in your local language? Can you speak Yoruba very well? Can you speak in Igbo if you're from the Igbo speaking part of the country? Can you speak Hausa, or do you have interest? Because I have friends that we studied together in university, but because they can speak Hausa, they got jobs at Voice of America, and they relocated to America, and they are in the media, but because they can speak the local language, but they're not from the northern part of the country, but they can speak, but they got a good job, and they moved there. So there are opportunities, but you just need to take advantage of what is available for you. Then more importantly, in whatever you do, you need to be punctual. Be there on time. Don't imbibe the African time habit. Do not do it. It is not good for us. So imbibe the good culture at this time and be able to adapt. Whatever condition or situation you find yourself, be able to adapt, because you have different seasons in life. And so you have the winter, the summer, the raining season, the dry season. There are seasons in life. Know how to adapt. If you're unable to adapt, then you would not flourish. And so that's a good skill to learn. So let's go back to banking. So what are the key departments that have stood the test of time in banking? Number one is financial control. Financial control is a department that keeps records, that helps with the posting of transactions. So now, financial control is still there, but things are changing. There's something called cryptocurrency that's come into play. And people store value through cryptocurrency, and it's online, it's digital. Information technology will always be there because technology is an enabler and it keeps evolving over time. There's always something new. So for instance, Wema Bank is a 76-year-old bank. Can you imagine a bank that old? The bank is a grandfather or a grandmother. But because of technology, the bank is able to evolve, and they've now come up with something called Alert. Alert is a digital platform. It's an award-winning digital platform that enables you to bank easily from anywhere. You don't need to have any human interaction. You can imagine what technology has done for us. And within 5 minutes, you can open an account, you can transact, receive money, pay money, get your debit card, do investments, get other lifestyle options that you need. So things are changing and evolving. There's something called corporate banking. Corporate banking is for big organizations, large organizations that do trading, investments, and so, for instance, let's look at a Cadbury. A Cadbury would have a corporate bank with Wema, a corporate account with Wema. And so what they do is you provide funding for them because it's a large business. And sometimes they will need foreign currency to do some transactions. Say, for example, they need to bring in equipment from another country. So for them to pay for it, because they need foreign currency to do that. If you're not a corporate account holder, you probably will not be able to access some of these opportunities or some of these services. So it's a department that is important. There's another department called corporate strategy and planning. So that department is responsible for planning for the future. So what does the future, in the next 10 years, what would banking look like? And bank has evolved from a place that you go to. It's something that you do. Banking has become lifestyle. So they plan, who are the people that need the banking services? Is it the youth? Is it the young entrepreneurs? What do they need? What kind of services do they need to survive? What are sort of niche markets are we looking at? Is it the guys in the media? Is it the guys in entrepreneurship? Is it the guys in a smart agri? No, so they have different things that they look at, and they help us to plan and say, okay, within the next 3 to 5 years, these are the things that we need to do. And then there's what we call operations. Operations are the ones that you see when you get into the banking hall. Those guys that collect your money from you, they actually take it in, stamp it, receive your checks, print your checks for you, issue you a debit card, and do all of the branch operational activities that is required for a bank to move smoothly. A new one is sustainability, and that's a function that I own. I wish I explained to you that the department is focused on driving inclusive finance and making the environment comfortable for everyone. Looking at something called the C, I call it the C. They look at the social business, they look at the environment, and they look at the economy under sustainability. And it's a big deal, and it's linked to the Sustainable Development Goal, which is the goals for everyone in the world. So these are the key departments that we can share with you now. There's also a corporate communications department where they talk about the media. They look at digital marketing, where you have people influencer marketing. So they have quite a number of things that goes on around that, but it is new. And it's an area that banks are also like putting in a lot of effort to actually push. So the future of banking is changing. And so I talk about digital banking. Nobody wants to go into the banking hall anymore. And I'm sure in the next 10 years, somebody wants to see banking. Everything wants to be done at the comfort of your home using a device, which could be your phone, your laptop, or your tablet. Get your banking services done without any human interference. You can right now, things are being done that way, and it's going to evolve more and more. I talk about sustainable finance, where we look at the environment. And so what sort of things is going on within the environment? What are we polluting the environment? Are we using bio-friendly products, as in eco-friendly products? How are you recycling? When you get to your home, are you actually throwing plastics into the bin? And so that's sort of things that banking is looking at the moment. As in, so let's change the environment, make it a better place for all of us. Looking at social and inclusive finance, don't leave anybody behind. What impact are you making in your society? And which is what FOCAD is doing now, bringing experts to talk to the young folks to help them to shape the future and think of something good that they can do for themselves. Cybersecurity is also very big. We're all on the internet and doing a whole lot of stuff. How do we protect ourselves? How do we protect everyone? Stop cyberbullying. How do you protect your account that's why it's not being hacked into? There are new areas that you can look into. Process management is another thing. You know, I talked about digitization. So for you to be able to digitize and you understand the process flow, so there's something called the project management professional. So even if you're not in that area, you can take that professional program and learn about how to manage processes, turn things around. And that's what we need in government as well. How can we ensure that everybody is identified in this environment? Do we know the number of people staying in Lagos? No, we don't, because we don't have data. So what process can we put together to ensure that this is done? Blockchain technology. So you recall that I talked about corporate banking. So people are not carrying cash around anymore. They move things around in crypto, pushing it left and right, and getting things done without using the physical contact. So things are changing, and transactions are done better, quicker, and faster using all this technology. And I talked about lifelong learning earlier on. It is important for you to actually imbibe this. As long as you live, you continue to learn. You know what they say, that when you want to hide something from a black man, just put it in a book. But with what we are doing today, it is not going to be like that for people like us here at the moment and people that you're going to engage in. So you need to know how to learn something new, read a book in a month at least, follow the news, know what is going on within your environment, learn a new sporting activity, learn how to use new technologies. You know, there are new things coming out. Do I want to learn how to code? Do I want to learn a basic script? You know, how do I use all those Microsoft tools? Do you even know how to use them? So when you have a device, what are you using it for? You can do coding as well, or programming. You can also start to look at financial literacy. Start to save at the moment. Start to put something together, you know, and be able to like look at the future. This is what I want and project. There's something I also like you guys to do for yourselves when you get home. There's something called the vision board. You can plot out a map. What do I want to do in the next 5 years? Who am I? Who is my role model? Who can mentor me? It doesn't need to have a physical. You can cut out the pictures and put it somewhere. In the next 5 years, Bimbo, I want to own the world. it's possible. But I mean, in what portion of the world I want to own? You start saying, oh, I want to become a doctor. I want to learn to become a sustainable finance expert. So what is required? What is lacking in Nigeria? What are the things that we don't have? We don't have the basic amenities. Who are we? What people that can partner with? Or I can look at USAID, or I can look at UNEP, as in United Nations. I can speak to other development agencies that can help them. I started thinking and envisioning what my future would look like. Put it on that board, put it somewhere in the house. Oh, I like Usain Bolt. I like his speed. So in what area do I want to apply speed? You put it there. Oh, in the way I learn, or in the way I read, or in the way I engage people. You put it there. Oh, in the next 3 years, this is the things. So you have your vision board and you stick it to the wall and you look at it at least once a week. Am I measuring up? Is this what I want to be? Is this how I want to achieve it? Who are the people that can help me? And so it helps you like put things together and help you to progress in life. One more thing. Do you have a library? You're not too young to have a library. So your library can start with, there's a book that I have that I bought, or somebody gifted someone close to me that I can use, that I can get to them. So if you have a library, start to read. Reading is easy. It opens your mind. It makes you travel the world. It makes you explore, you know, and it increases your curiosity. You learn more about so many things. You know, I talk about odd skills. Odd skills got to do with critical thinking as well. So when you start to read, you open your mind and start to think critically. It also improves your writing skills. So you learn new vocabulary. You learn new words that you can apply, that you can use. And you now become a voracious reader. For all you care, you can also become a writer. Writing is also a career as well. And so when you start to imbibe all of these things, you get to learn new things that will actually help you. You can keep both a digital library and a physical library. You can also engage other people that have like an exchange books. You can join a book club. You have that in schools. You have that within the community. You can use, they have libraries in different parts of Lagos as well. That can be a part of. So how many books do you want to commit to reading in a month? Have you thought about that? Write it somewhere. I want to commit to reading at least 2-3 books in a month. I'll check back on you on that. And so there are so many resources, if you're an online person, because I know some of us are watching online. You can try the Google Scholar. You can try TED-Ed. You can also use YouTube to learn. If you want to learn coding, you can use YouTube and you learn something from there. If you want to read more about sustainable finance, you can also go to YouTube. You learn about what is happening. You can look at Code Academy. It also helps you to learn how to code. Primer is a free app that teaches about digital marketing skills. How do I want to be an influencer? So you have the big ones, Maraji, what they do. They use digital marketing and they make millions of money. Even at a younger age, there's this young girl that also does digital marketing. And you find her on Instagram, she's engaging. There are a lot of YouTubers that make money. They have content. And people follow them and they make money from it. So how do I engage in my resources? So when should I start? I'm sure that's the question. The best time is now. There's no better time to start from today. Write it down. Don't forget that vision board I told you to do. So make it a part of your vision board and get started. So let's go. I hope you've enjoyed this session and I'm waiting for all your questions. Thank you, everyone. I'm here to attend some of your questions.
Best thing about my career was I'm my own boss. That I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I rolled the dice, and to become great at whatever you want to do, you got to roll the dice and take a chance on yourself.
That was such an amazing session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You
Thank
know,
you.
I personally love the fact that it wasn't only banking you touched on. You literally opened up the space to as many people, like Abimbola or she, even if they do not want to do banking, you touched on a lot of things that we can use and other areas and skills that we can imbibe to make us fit for not only the bank but even other areas as well. So what we're going to do right now is we'll go straight into questions and answers. If you are at our VI Center or Ikeja Center and you have questions that you would love to ask our very amazing speaker this morning, Mrs. Abimbola, please send them to our officials wherever you are and they'll get the questions across to us. If you're watching on YouTube, drop your question in the chat and we will provide answers to them. So let's start off with Ayo. Did you enjoy the session?
Yes, it was wonderful.
All
I
right.
have so many points to write down. Okay, I have a question. There's like this thing going around teenagers, and it's like why spending? We spend money lavishly. So I wanted to ask, Abona Bank, is there any sort of platform for us teenagers where we can save money or?
Obviously, I recall I mentioned something about the digital platform and where you can actually keep when you get money from your uncles and aunties, you can actually put the money in there. So there's something for kids as well. It's called the Royal Kiddies account, and for teenagers like you, it's called the Purple account. So the Purple accounts, you're old enough to run it by yourself, pseudo, because you have people that are 15 and they're in uni now, because with the regulations from the central bank, you need to have something called the BVN, the bank verification number. And so once you have that, you can use your alert, download the alert app, open an account, take a selfie. It's easy and cool. It's trendy for you. So take a selfie. You use it for a picture, put in your BVN, and voila, you have an account. And so you can start putting in money there. You can do a transfer or go into the bank branch and deposit your money, and it goes in straight. So we don't carry cash around. We're cool and so when you get money from your uncles and aunties, you can just give it to your mom and say, just transfer the money to my account. Don't give me fiscal cards. I don't spend. I know it is. So there's something called the power of compounding. When you keep your money over time, you'll be amazed at what you would have. And you're imbibing a good habit at a very tender age.
You, you just answered the question that was coming to mind right now. Like, what would be like that um, golden advice you will give a teenager as far as investments is concerned? Because talking about me growing up, when they give us money like that, I mean, the saving culture wasn't that strong for us, as it is now. But I think you mentioned that because the power of compound
Funny.
interest
Is amazing.
is something you
And
have to
another thing that you can also do is to, when you have your birthdays, rather than collect cash or gift items, you can say, oh, I want you to buy me a mutual fund. A mutual fund is like an investment too, where they can buy as low as 1,000, 5,000, and it grows over a period of time. And you have this to yourself at any age that you want it, rather than buy something that is material. I don't expect you to start wearing Brazilian hair. I think you should avoid those things unless your parents are buying it for you. Do not use your own savings or even to buy such. I think you can wait. There's something called delayed gratification. So you need to be able to delay some things, and that's what we need to learn. That habit is changing. In Nigeria, we all want to blow. So because you see everybody blowing and but that's not the right culture. There's something called delayed gratification. There's time for everything. There's season. There's a season for everything. And so say, oh, at this age, this is what I want to do. This is my focus at this time. When that time comes and I'm starting earning good amounts of money, I can start to blow the money and buy whatever I want and invest 250 in it. So some people say air is investment. But to me, air is not an investment. Because say people buying 300,000 worth of air.
See, I don't see that as an investment
Exactly.
anyway,
They'll tell you
because
that the people try to justify their rationalize or justify their behaviors these days. And the essence of all of these things that we're doing on this platform is to open people's mind, open the younger people's mind, and that these things are not real, they're not right. And so people do things for the gram, like you always say, but they're not real. If you see them in real life, it's a different story. So don't get deceived. Don't be deceived.
Thank you very much, Ma. You answered my question.
I'm sure you might have one more question. But before I come to that, what question do you have?
Okay, but so you said your organization is like into youth empowerment and stuff like that. So like, what are the steps you do to empower youth?
Thank you. That's a very brilliant question. So we do quite a number of things to empower youth, but our key focus is around education, and that's what we're doing now. This platform, education, health. So what areas do you want us to do to help you to grow? We also do things around, besides education, we teach people how to save, financial literacy. We also focus on women, but for youth, we do education, financial literacy, digital things around digital coding, what will bring the young stars together, they can learn. We also have opportunities for youth to have internship for the bank. So it's a form of empowerment. I can go out to tell your friends as well. I got in because I did well at some school event or some school program, and I aced my exams, or and you come into the bank to learn, have work experience kind of through internship. So those are part of the things that we have for the youth, but we are youth focused because the youth is the future of the country. And I mentioned to you that we have over 150 million youth in Nigeria. So when I say youth, I mean from 16 to about 40. Let me leave it at 40 to cover the millennials.
Fantastic. All right. So you mentioned something about constantly developing yourself, constantly reading, and that is something that I would wish you could spot some more light on, because in today's world, we don't read. You know, you see a little information on social media, which is just like a highlight, but people don't really take time to like read like full books or to invest a lot in developing themselves. So that area of self-development, which cuts across either banking sector, whatever sector you want to find yourself in, can you just spot some more light on it?
Thank you for that brilliant question. I touched briefly on it, as the people don't like to read. Times have changed, and social media is a bit addictive. So by the time you move from one post to the other, you spend the whole like 3 hours doing nothing there. But what do you need to do? You need to make it intentional. I don't want to. So there's some devices that has got something called the screen time. So once you achieve the 30 minutes screen time, you shut out. and you do something else, and you make it. The night I was asking a question. Did you write out how many books you want to read this month? How many do you have? 3. Good. How about you? Like 5. Awesome. So when you are committed to this sort of things, like, oh, I'm committed, and you have your vision board that you can see, you're committed, and you have like the initiative of lifelong learning. You pick up a book and read. It doesn't have to be a physical book, and do a digital book as well. But you know how it is with digital book, you get distracted. But there are a lot of local books that you can read on Okada.com. And some of these books are free as well. You can go into a library, but you need to imbibe that habit and be intentional. If you're not intentional about all of this, there's a lot of distractions that will actually not make you to read anything. But you have to stay committed. And by the time you start doing that, you get used to. You know, there's something called the habits. The habits. Something, if you do it for 21 days, then it becomes a part of you. Then you start doing it, and it comes. If you don't read a book, then you're not feeling yourself. I'm not normal. I've not learned anything new. So it's important for you to imbibe that habit, make it a culture, be intentional about it, have the books available, subscribe to a website or platforms that can allow you to learn something new. Those are the things that you need to do.
Wow, amazing. It's been a great session today. Does anyone agree with me? Yes. Amazing. So we have more sessions coming through, but I want to say a big thank you to you. Can we say a big thank you to her?
You're most welcome. I hope the most important thing for me is for you guys to imbibe all of the things that we talked about today. So if you come back in the next 3 months, I want to ask you, Shay, what have you learned? Are you committed to reading those? Do you have a vision board? So I'm going to ask Foke to actually follow up. Did any of the participants develop a vision board? If you have one and develop it, send to me. You have a gift waiting for you next week. So send your vision board.
I'm sending mine too.
Send your vision board, and you have a gift waiting for you. With your name and your vision board. I would love to see it and what you've committed to. How do you do it? So you know how I explained to you how to do a vision board. Can you remember? Get a cardboard. What are the things I want to do in the next 5 years? Who are those people that I want to emulate? Who are my mentors? So you cut out the pictures, go on the internet, cut it out, put it there. In the next 5 years, I actually want to be a media expert. These are the steps I need to take. I'm committed to reading 5 books in a week. This is a university that I want to go study. I don't want to study locally, or these are the partners I want to have. This is the business that I'm envisioning for myself in the future. I really don't want to work for anyone. I want to be an entrepreneur, and I want to blow. These are the steps I need to take. And you put it out there, and you stick it on the cardboard. You put it in your room, that you can see it all the time. And so it puts you like this is the things I've committed. And you know, when you wake up and see something every day, this is me. This is what I want. And you can always add to it. I want to take a break. Oh, these are the things I want to do during the break. Add to your vision board. Then send to me and let me see how interesting it is. You have a gift waiting for you.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. That has been our first session for today. Mrs. Abimbola Agbejule, thank you very, very much for your time.
You're most welcome. And I thank you for the opportunity as well. I hope we sustain this platform and we do greater things together.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys, that is one of 3 sessions we're having today. When we are back from this break, we will be having the next session. Guys, like I said, make sure you take notes, make sure you are ready to learn, and make sure you also meet a friend in whatever center you might be this morning. Friends, how is it going so far? I hope you're having a good time. It's now time for us to take today's summer school program to a whole new level. Once again, we are saying a big thank you to our first speaker of the day, Mrs. Abimbola Agbujule. She shared a lot of insightful stuff. I hope you learned from that. If you remember, when I was having the question and answer session with her, I did ask a question or two about investments, and we talked about saving, and she talked about some of the packages and plans and stuff that you can do with Wema Bank PLC. I talked about the purple account and all of that. See, guys, let's face it, we have millionaires that are teenagers. A lot of millionaires, So let's talk money. Our next speaker is someone who is very big on investments and empowering people for financial freedom. So there's a lot to learn, right? She is the CEO of the of a financial institution that I think that you would really love to be a part of. And she is an award winning leader in the financial services industry in Africa. She has over 15 years worth of experience across management consulting, telecommunications, investment advisory, and fintech. She has successfully launched multiple projects focused investment clubs that has helped hundreds of individuals own real estate and also invest profitably in Nigerian and United States of America stock markets. Now, sometimes we get too old before we start learning some of these things. But one of the things that Focus Counseling and Focus Academy brings to you is an opportunity to learn these things, imbibe these skills at an early age. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our second speaker for today, Mrs. Tomi Balogun.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So happy to be here.
Such
Can
a
you hear me
pleasure
loud
to
and clear?
meet you. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right.
So thank you so much for taking our time to join us on this special one.
Thank you for having me.
So I know you have a lot to share with us. Before you delve into all the amazing gems that you'll be teaching us today, can
Okay.
you say something about teenagers and children generally who think anything financial stuff, like all these things, this is for the adults, it's for the grown-ups. I mean, I'm too young for this. What do you have to say about that just before we start off?
So I'd like to say that there's no time better than that age to start thinking about your personal finances, right? It's no time better than understanding how it works and getting it right, building the right habits and learning everything you need to know because adulting is not easy, right? The sooner you learn what you can at this age, as much as you can, the better your adulting will be. The adulting process will be. If you learn all you can right now, you enjoy your adulthood a lot better than most people. Yeah. So I'll say that.
I I totally agree with you on that. So without further ado, let's please make Mrs. Tomi Balogun welcome as we listen attentively to all that you have to share with us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here and well done to FOCAD Consulting, FOCAD Global Concept for putting this together. I believe that this is a very, very important, this population is very, very important in Nigeria because they are the future, really. When you make up about 60 to 70% of the current population, they are very important to the future of Nigeria, right? So, and even more important it is for you to get your finances together, understand how personal finances work, so that as you grow, you know that you can make a difference with how you spend your money and what you do in Nigeria, right? So thinking about personal finances and investment, why is it important, right? I would say this in a very simple way, right? If you want to live the life you want, then money is important. There's no two way around it, right? Money is a tool. Money is a tool that helps you live the life you want. Now, as teenagers, you probably have a plan to say, I want to go to the school. When I finish, I want to have this kind of job. I want to work here. I want to be able to travel. I want to see the world. I want to do things with my friends. You know, all of those things are fantastic things. Nobody is here to tell you that, oh, you have to live a frugal life, like not do anything that you want to do. No, that's not the way it works, right? The way it works here is you have to get your personal finances together so that you can live the life you want. I am an advocate of living your life fully, but what I want you to know is money is a tool to help you live that life fully. So first of all, let's get the right understanding of what money is. Money is a tool, right? The goal is not just to pile up your account with money and say, oh, I have money. I'm sure most of you have noticed that when daddy or mommy gives you money, within a few weeks, it's gone, right? Because by the time you spend on this, spend on that, spend on this, or you do this, it's gone. And then you go back and say, daddy, please, I need more money. What you need to start thinking about is how can I ensure that whatever money that comes into my hands, I'm able to multiply it? Because at this stage, I mean, it's not too early to think about how to earn money because, you know, I was listening to the other speaker. There are so many young people around the world earning a lot of money, right? You know, with their skills, with their products and services. So there's nothing stopping you from doing that. And I'll get to that in a bit. But even right now, if you have the pocket money from daddy and mommy, there's a lot you can do with it. One of the things I like about the Jews, I've studied the Jews for a long time. The Jews are like, the Jewish people are, like a tribe in the world. A lot of people know the Jewish people. They live across almost every country in the world, mostly across Europe and the US. Now, until the 1940s, they didn't have their own country, right? But now they have their own country in Israel. But one thing you know about the Jews, wherever they are, anywhere in the world, they are wealthy people. And why? Because they are very disciplined with their approach to money. They are very disciplined with their personal finances. They are very disciplined with how they structure their personal finances, how they set up their businesses, and how they build wealth. And what amazes me about the Jewish people is how they teach their children from a very young age on how to manage their personal finances. And this is what they always say: when any amount of money comes into your hands, you have to allocate it. You have to split it. One portion, right, needs to go into giving. Now, if you're a Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're a Christian, give to your church, pay your tithe. If you're a Muslim, give to your charity, right? One portion goes to giving. Another portion is something you must save, right? I would say that don't just stop at saving, think about investing. And I'll speak about investing in a few minutes. A portion is something you must save. The other portion is something you can set aside for something you want to do. So you want to buy books to build your personal development, right? Because you have to grow. You cannot grow beyond the size of your thinking. You cannot grow beyond the size of your thinking. So if you want to grow as a person, you have to keep improving your mindset. You have to keep reading new books and developing your thinking. So it's very important that you can set aside an amount of money to, buying books or going for courses like this summer program or something. There's so many things you can do, right? So, there are 4 or 5 ways you can allocate it, but let's stick with those 3 core ways, right? Because you can also do another portion for giving. If you already give your tithe, you can also do another portion for giving to charity. You can split it 3 or 4 ways, but the very important ones are the ones I mentioned: giving, savings and investments, and then self-development. Very important. The Jewish people teach their children this about money, and that is one of the reasons why, as they grow up, once they become adults, they are very successful and wealthy wherever they are in the world. It doesn't matter. Anytime you see a Jew, they are successful. And it's something I've been studying, and we need to start doing that in Nigeria. So this is a fantastic program to teach you about how to ensure your personal finances work for you. Remember, money is a tool to live the life you want. This is why we are talking about it. It's not a tool to go and, show off on social media. Oh, I just bought the latest this, I just did this. No, it's just live the life you want. It's not about social media pressure or peer pressure. A lot of people get carried away with showing off on social media. You have to be very careful about that. You can live a life that is successful and true to what you want the way you want without having to, show off on social media, because even that pressure is making a lot of people go into the wrong money scams. We've all heard about Hush Puppy and the rest. That's something you shouldn't have to think about at all. There are honest ways, good ways to save and invest your money. All right. So let's get into investing. I know the lady from Wema Bank, Mrs. Abinella, talked a lot about the saving plans Wema Bank has. But guess what? I don't know if any of you understand what's happening in Nigeria right now, but more than ever before, you need to think beyond savings. You have to invest your money. And as a young person, what are the options that are available to you, right? I'll stick with 2 major options. So stock market and mutual funds, right? So what is the stock market? Let me break it down this way. Think about a company like, let me see, who are the sponsors of this event now? Think about a company like Wema Bank, right? Would you like to own Wema Bank? Would you like to own a bank? Is that a question you've asked yourself before? Or is that something you think is impossible? One day my son, I have an 8-year-old son, and he came back from school and he said, oh, Mommy, my teacher said I should do my work, because if I do my work, I will work in a bank. I said, no. If you do your work, you will own a bank, right? And that's the thinking I want to leave with you here. Do your work, read your books, not just to come out and get a job. That thinking doesn't work anymore. That's a traditional age-old way of thinking. Do your work to develop yourself and to own assets, right? So let's talk about owning a bank. Now, what does it take to own a bank? Now, there are 2 ways. You can either decide that you want to start your own bank from scratch. And I'm sure a lot of people is like, oh, I don't even know how to do that. That's like a big deal right now. But guess what? It's a simpler way to own a bank. You can buy the shares of a bank, right? So that's what happens in the stock market. Institutions and companies like Wema Bank have their shares sold in the stock market. So it's a market for buying and selling the shares of a company. So what are the shares of a company? So think about a bank like Wema Bank, and they say, oh, we have shareholders. Shareholders are part owners of the bank, right? I'm a part owner of the bank. So a bank says they have 10 million shares, right? So when you buy the shares of a bank, you become a part owner of the bank. So for instance, for some of you that your dad and mom run a business, right? Your dad is the owner of that business, or your mom is the owner of that business. If they want to bring you into that business, they will give you some shares in that business. So you become a part owner of that business. Now, banks like Wema Bank are public banks, right? They're public, so they're traded on the stock market. Now, if you want to become a part owner in Wema Bank, now, wouldn't you like to own a bank, right? So you can tell your friends, I own a bank. Yes, tell them I own a bank. I own Wema Bank, GT Bank, Zenith Bank. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how the stock market works. So what I always say is think about products that you see everywhere. If that institution is publicly traded on stock market, then ask the stockbroker, speak to a stockbroker, speak to your mom and dad. Say, should I buy the shares of this company? Do you think it's good? Because it's not enough to just say that, oh, I like this company. You also need to ensure that the company is doing well successfully, right? And Wema Bank is a bank that is doing well. There are other banks that are doing well as well. So you can say, I want to own shares in this bank. I like this bank and I want to own shares in this bank. I see that this bank is growing every day. They have branches everywhere. I want to own shares in this bank. Because guess what? When you become a shareholder, whenever that bank makes a profit, they pay you dividend, right? So you're a part owner, because typically in any business, when a business is successful, right, and the business earns profits, the owner of the company gets the profit, right? So when you're a shareholder in an institution, right, when you own the shares of any company on the stock market, when that company is profitable, they pay you dividend. And not only that, when the value of the shares go up, you also earn capital growth. It's called capital growth, right? It's a very simple way to explain that, oh, the value of a share is 10 naira and now it has gone up to 20 naira. But then be very careful. Don't get carried away with all of the trends, because the stock market can be very volatile. You have to speak to a stockbroker or speak to your mommy and daddy and say, mommy, which shares should I buy, right? And let them advise you and say, these are the companies that are doing well, or these are the companies that are paying dividend. So you can ask, for instance, a good question to ask is, which companies pay dividend every year? Because a company that pays dividend, right, that means they're making profit, right? When a company makes profit, they pay the shareholders. So you can ask the shareholder, please ask your stockbroker, like, what companies pay dividend? I would like to be a part owner in that company. That's how the stock market works. It's very simple, right? That's it. I just want to be a part owner. Now let's talk about the international stock market, because I know a lot of you know the big brands like Tesla, Apple, name them, even the games you play like Roblox, all of that. I mean, my son plays Roblox a lot and my daughter plays Roblox a lot as well. So I told them that they need to buy the shares of Roblox, and we bought the shares of Roblox on the stock market. So now they play the game, but they're also part owners of that company, right? And since they bought that share, the value of the stock has gone up, and that is what the stock market offers you. So don't just focus on consuming and buying things. Why don't you also think about becoming a part owner in that company? Because as that company continues to grow and as they make profit, they will pay you something, right? So think about the international companies that you like to be part of, right? Tesla is a really good company to buy. I mean, I'm not making any recommendations here. Like I said, speak to a stockbroker and get professional advice, right? Because stocks are very, 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 you have to get professional advice, right? So I'm just telling you about the companies that you can think about, right? And when you're thinking about it, still get a broker or your mom and dad to find out what is professional, right? Should we buy this company? Should we not? I give the example of Roblox because my son likes playing Roblox. My daughter likes playing Roblox. So I say, okay, because you guys like playing Roblox, let's check out the company. So we checked out the company and we saw that the company was about to list on the stock exchange. And we said, let's buy it, because I saw that they spend so much time on that company. That company is making money, right? So that's how it works. So that's how the stock market works. Basically, it's just you saying that, what are the companies that I want to be a part owner in, right? And I want to be a shareholder in. So I buy shares in that company. And there's no age bracket, right? I mean, you're not too young to get started. All you need to do is tell your daddy and mommy that, please, I want to open a stockbroker account. Now there are apps, right? There are mobile apps that you can download on your phone or your daddy and mommy's phone, right? I mean, my daughter and son, they just use the app on my phone, but they know they own the shares on my phone, right? And they just think about the stocks that they want to buy. And we say, okay, Mommy, what about this company? I say, let's check it out. Is this company doing well? Are they profitable? Are they successful? And then we decide if we want to buy it or not, right? So, and you can start reading up about the stock market, get books about the stock market, right? There are books in the library about stock market for children. Figure out how you can learn as much as you can so that you start becoming a shareholder in all the big institutions. I heard of a story of a man who his grandmother bought shares for him in Apple when Apple started about 20, 30 years ago. And today he's a millionaire. Why? Because he bought shares in a company that had great potential, right? So that's how you think about stock market. The second one is mutual funds, right? Like I said, I'm sticking with those two options for investment for you, just as a starting point. There's so many other asset classes like real estate, euro bonds, money market, stock market, all of that. But I just want to break it down to just two simple options for now, right? And I'll take all the questions you have. So mutual funds, what are mutual funds? Now, how do I explain this in a simple way? So I say that, so for instance, you and your friends, you're like, oh, we don't understand how to invest by ourselves, right? I don't want to have to pick stocks myself. I don't know the companies to buy. I don't know, right? So, okay, you go to a stockbroker and say that, I don't really want to have to do analysis myself. Can you help me do the analysis? And the stockbroker says, okay, we do that for a group of people, right? So it's a mutual fund. We have this mutual, it's mutual, right? Like the word implies, it's mutual. It's a mutual fund where we bring a pool of people together and we say that bring your money, everybody put your money together, and then we will manage it for you, right? So basically, you are not actively involved in the management of those funds in terms of what they invest in and what they put the money in. That's what a mutual fund is. So you can, a company can create a financial institution, an investment company can create a mutual fund for the stock market, right? So for instance, you don't want to have to think about the companies you want to buy. You don't really know the companies. That's fine. There are people like that, and it's fine. Just ask, okay, where are the stock market mutual funds, right? Because with those mutual funds, you have a professional that is managing it for you on your behalf, right? So that's how a mutual fund works. So you have mutual funds that invest in the money market as well. The money market is a type of market for short-term products, short-term instruments. You have mutual funds that invest in real estate, well, not so popular in Nigeria, but they exist. You have mutual funds that invest in so many other things, right? What you need to find out is, what does this mutual fund invest in, right? And then how can I invest in it? So your daddy and mommy might decide to just, send money into a mutual fund for you, or you can decide and say that, okay, when I have my savings, I want to put this amount of money in a mutual fund every month or every quarter. You can start with 5,000 naira. A lot of you, when you go out to eat, you spend 5,000 naira on pizza and drinks. You've already spent 5,000 naira. So why don't you save up and say, I want to put 5,000 naira in a mutual fund every quarter? Maybe for now, you don't want to be actively involved in which stocks to buy, which financial instruments to buy, and that's fine. As you continue to put money in that mutual fund, there's a professional, right? There's somebody who understands how the market works that is actively investing on your behalf, right? And your money is safe, right? As long as you will go, invest in a good institution. Don't get carried away with a lot of the things on social media. That's another very important point. Some of you may have heard of MMM and all of that. Don't invest in what you don't understand, all right? That's a key principle I want you to always know. Don't invest in what you don't understand. Just because somebody's talking about it doesn't mean you should put your money in it, right? So always speak to daddy and mommy. Always speak to a professional and say, okay, how does this work? Should I invest my money in it so that I don't lose your money, right? There's so many popular things now on social media. People don't understand FX this. My brother called me and said, I put my money in this FX deal and I've lost all my money. I was like, why didn't you tell me, right? You don't invest in what you don't understand. You've lost all your savings now because you made a mistake, right? So a mutual fund is very good because a professional, right? Somebody who is trained and educated can help you manage on your money on your behalf, right? And you always get access to it when you want, right? So if you decide that when I'm 20, when I'm 21, I would liquidate as cash out, right, of my mutual fund, that's fine, right? Also tell mommy and daddy they can do it for you, set it up for you, so that by the time you're 21, you can have access to it, right? You can do it in a way that you don't have access to it until you're 21 or until you're 25, fixed age that you want, right? And that's an amazing way to ensure that you are putting your money to work by investing, right? So I'm just going to end on this note. Why is it important to invest your money? Right? A lot of you are looking forward to going to school, getting an education, coming out, creating a company yourself. I mean, gone are the days where you just go to school to come and get a job, right? More than ever before, you can also create a company yourself. You can create, an amazing product or service that people want to buy. So, but when you earn income from what you do, even if as a teenager now you intern in a company and you're paid income, that money needs to work. Okay, that money needs to work. Your money needs to work as hard as you would work. You go to school, you read your books, you're working hard. Whatever money that comes into your hands, make sure that money is working as well. That's what investing is. Investing is putting your money to work, right? So ensure that as you are doing your work, your school work, whatever money is coming into your hands is also working, right? And remember, money is a tool. Money is a tool to live the life you want, right? When you have money, you have more options. You can do so many other things. It's amazing, right? But you have to build a discipline. You have to build a discipline. Remember what I told you, allocate. When money comes into your hands, a portion for giving, a portion for saving and investing, a portion for self-development. And it's not about how much the money is, because some of you are saying, oh, I just have 1,000 naira. No, start with 1,000 naira, because if you don't start with 1,000 naira, when you have 10,000 naira, you will not be disciplined. If you don't start with what you have now, when more money comes into your hands, you're going to spend it. All right. So just to round up, remember, money is a tool. That's a very important thing. Investing is putting your money to work. All right. Ensure that your money is always working hard. What are the options to consider right now? The stock market. The stock market is you becoming a part owner in a successful and a profitable company, right? And if you don't want to have to pick the companies yourself, think about a mutual fund, because with a mutual fund, there's a professional managing it for you and you don't have to bother yourself. You just know that my money is growing somewhere. All right. And always develop yourself, right? Well done for signing up on this program, but ensure that you keep learning, right? Read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, fantastic books to learn about personal finance. On that note, I would round up for now. Thank you very much.
Session. Whoa. I mean, we're supposed to pay you like euros and pounds for that particular session, Mrs. Tommy Malogo. What do you guys think? I'm not alone. I have Shay to my left and Ayo to my right. How was that session in?
I'm even thinking of investing, so buying shares. I'm thinking of telling my friends.
Okay, so first off, let me say one more time thank you to Mrs. Tommy Balogun for that one. We will delve straight into our question and answers session right now. So I'm going to start with Shay. With all that has been shared, a lot. Uh, just let me confirm. Are you there, ma? Can you hear us? I need to confirm that I can hear.
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we want to start off with our questions now. I hope you're ready for us.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so Shay, let's kick off. Your question.
Okay. Soma, you said there are professionals that help manage your money and that help you manage your money in the stock market and stuff like that. So I want to ask, do they pay those professionals, and what do they call those professionals?
Right. So great question. The professionals are called stockbrokers or investment bankers, right? So you can ask for a stockbroker, right? But that's if you want to invest directly in the stock market. If you want to do the mutual fund, then you need an investment banker, right? So it's investment banks that manage the mutual funds. So yes, the companies that hire them pay them. So they are hired to help manage your investment for you, right? So when you sign up to any of those mutual funds, that's their job.
Okay, well, thank you, ma'am. Okay, I'm sure you have more questions. I won't come back to you. So, Ayo, what's your question?
When you buy shares at any company, the amount of money you like use to buy the shares, do you have do you have a say in the decisions the company makes since you're part of the shareholders now?
Okay, so I can see that you want to become you want to be a director very soon, right? But I like that thinking, and I like that your question a lot, because it shows that you're not someone that just wants to be a passive investor. You also want to be an active investor. So to be actively involved in a company's operations, you have to be a majority shareholder, right? So you have to own maybe like 20 or 30% or even 5% of that company to be involved in a company's operations. I know that for some particular institutions, once you have maybe up to 5 to 10%, they appoint you on the board or somebody that you pick on the board, right? So it's not that easy to be involved in the day-to-day decision making and operations of that company, right? But I mean, just start with what you have, right? And you can build it up over time. Who knows? You can become a shareholder that grows to become someone that sits on the board of that company. Your dreams are valid, right? There's nothing impossible.
Keep working your way up, and you never know, you might get. I head over to Shay. For children who want to invest and teenagers who want to invest, to a very large extent, it's still very dependent on the parents. In a situation where maybe someone listening from the VI center or from the, you know, Ikeja center, listening to you right now and saying, I love this idea of investing, I love this idea of buying stocks and shares and all of that, but his or her parent is not really has not really woken up to this, which is some mistake that some of us growing up probably had, where maybe our parents were not very investment enlightened per se. And so for that type of person who probably cannot own his or her own personal account by himself or herself, what would you advise that person to
Mm. That's a tough one, right? Because you do need access and adults around you to help, and what I would say is keep learning and keep speaking to adults around you to find out, right? If your parents don't seem to have the information that you need, right? If you're on social media, follow the people that you think that can help you. Reach out to them and ask questions, right? Um, can you open an account with Wema Bank yourself? You can find out, right? And just keep learning. Keep learning until you get to the age where you can do it yourself, right? Don't use that as an excuse, right? Just ensure that you can learn. If mom and daddy don't really understand or are not really into it, speak to an auntie or an uncle, right? Like, do you understand how the stock market works? Do you understand how I can invest in the stock market? Because honestly, that was my story, right? I remember the time when Zenith Bank was doing an IPO, right? And I really wanted to own shares in Zenith Bank. My parents were not interested. Guess what? I reached out to a big brother friend of mine. I said, I want to buy shares in Zenith Bank. And he said, okay. And he literally gave me the money to buy it. He gave me the money to buy it. I got the forms and I filled it and I bought it. It was an uncle. So it wasn't really my daddy or my mommy, right? And I still own those shares till today, right? So what's important is your mind is open and ready and just speak to people around you. I'm sure there's someone around you that can help. I can't really hear you. No volume, no volume. There's no volume. Okay, I can hear now.
I said, sorry, I said, are there any other means of investments outside what you have listed today?
Oh yes, there are so many. There are absolutely so many, right? I just wanted to stick with those two simple options, but there are multiple asset classes. Just to give you like a range, there's the stock market, right? Mutual fund, there's the money market, there's real estate, right? Within the money market, there are so many instruments like treasury bills, commercial papers, there are bonds, right? Federal government savings bonds, right? There are euro bonds as well, right? Which are like a type of financial instruments. There are debt notes you can use. There's agro finance. There are so many investment opportunities. You can also invest in a startup. If you've heard the stories of Apple or Facebook, which other major companies there that people bought into them at the early stage and they grew, like Uber. Those are startups as well, right? You can invest directly in a startup. So there's so many opportunities across board, right? You just need to decide which one your budget can invest in. Remember, it's a budget thing, right? Because real estate requires a bigger budget, right? So, which is why start where you are, have dreams. You can decide that I want to have a house when I'm 21, 25 or something. That's possible, but you have to start now.
That's amazing. We will have one or two questions from those in our center. So if you are in the VI center or Ikeja center, if you have a question, you can write it on a piece of paper and pass it across to one or two of our officials so we can ask Mrs. Tomi Balogun before we let her go back into our investment consultancy. Also, if you are on YouTube live and you have a question, drop the question in the chat box. If you're on Instagram as well, you can drop the question right there and we'll pick the question right from there. Okay, so before we get onto that, as we start to round up this session, Ayo, one more question.
I was going to ask if like the amount of money you invest in the shares you buy, like how much money do you get after? Like if you buy the shares of, let's say the shares of 5,000 naira,
Okay.
do you get that 5,000 naira back or you get more?
Great question, Thierry. So yes, when you invest your money, the goal is to get a return, right? So you invest your money to get a return. So you invest 5,000 naira in shares. Make sure that you have professional advice. Like I said, don't just pick any random company. Think about companies you want to own shares in and speak to a stockbroker, a professional, and ask them their opinion. So, but the goal of investing is to earn returns. And the thing about the stock market is there are two ways to earn returns from the stock market, right? When the company is profitable, they pay dividend, right? So you earn dividend on your shares. And then secondly, as that company continues to grow, the value of that share continues to grow as well. So for instance, when I was in university, like I said, and I bought the Zenith Bank shares, right? When I bought the Zenith Bank shares, it was 11 naira. Today, it's worth a lot more. Zenith Bank shares are like 20 something naira today, right? So, and I'm sure the Wema Bank and everything, their shares have gone up over the past 5 to 10 years as well. So, buying the shares, of a company that is growing, you ensure that the value of that money grows. So, for instance, I bought 1,000 shares at 11 naira. That's 11,000 naira. If I sell it today, that is like 20 something thousand naira. But I mean, I have a lot more than 1,000 shares now. So because I continue to buy, which is another important thing. I didn't just buy it once and stop. I continue to buy shares in Zenith Bank. So the shares I have in Zenith Bank now are probably times 500 what I had at the beginning, right? So you have to keep building it up.
Our live audience. Just to reiterate something that you shared that I found very, very insightful and also timely for the season that we're in right now, which is do not invest in what you do not understand. And I think that is a lifesaver for a lot of people because when they hear about the benefits of investments and they hear about the need and importance for investing, they just put their ears out there, put their ears on the ground, and when they hear anything that sounds like investing, even when it sounds too good to be true, they go all in and they get their fingers burned. So if you can just say one more thing about that, just to further reiterate that part, I think it might be helpful.
Yes. So there are so many Ponzi schemes, right? You have to be careful about. Um, and a lot of people in the bid to make money are not doing it the right way, right? There's a honest way and the right way to invest. So don't fall for the dishonest ways to invest, right? Somebody comes to meet you and says, "Oh, give me your money. I'll give you back your money 50%." What are they doing? Ask the question. What are they doing? What does business do, right? Is the business providing a service that you know, or are they providing a product? If the company is not selling any product or is not providing any service, then how are they going to be able to pay you your money back? Right? So be very careful when you see a business that just says, "Give me your money and I'll give you back with returns," but they're not doing anything. They're not really doing any clear business. There are no clear products that they're selling. There are no clear services. They don't have customers that are paying them for the service that they offer. Then that's a red flag, right? So you always have to ask questions. What kind of business are you doing to be able to give me back my money with returns? If you don't understand it, if they tell you and explain to you and you still don't understand it, you tell your daddy or your mommy or an auntie or an uncle and they don't understand it, then don't do it. All right? Don't do it.
Thank you so very much. I hope you guys have been very enlightened with this particular session, right? Okay, so thank you very much to our speaker, our second speaker for the day, Mrs. Tomi Balogun, for so much wisdom and so much knowledge that you have actually transferred to us today. From our centers, can you just put your hands together? And Ikeja Center, VI Center for Mrs. Tomi Balogun. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bless you. So we're going to take a break right now. When we are back, we will be delving right into the final session of today. Now, trust me, guys, it's kicked off for the first session, which was amazing. And now the second session was just mind-blowing. The final session for today will absolutely make your day. So please stay with us.
Best thing about my career was I'm my own boss. Best thing about my career was I'm my own boss. That I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I rolled the dice, and to become great at whatever you want to do, you got to roll the dice and take a chance on yourself. Best thing about my career was I'm my own boss. That I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I rolled the dice, and to become great at whatever you want to do, you got to roll the dice and take a chance on yourself. Best thing about my career was I'm my own boss. That I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I rolled the dice, and to become great at whatever you want to do, you got to roll the dice and take a chance on yourself. Best thing about my career was I'm my own boss. That I want to do what I wanted to do. I rolled the dice, and to become great at whatever you want to do, you got to roll the dice and take a chance on yourself.
Guys, how has it been so far? If you ask me, I'll say it's been so awesome. There's been a lot of information shared, a lot of knowledge given, and Shay and Ayo over here can rightly beat their chest and say, whoa, there's a lot of information that we have learned. So we've touched a bit about finance and investment, and we have also talked about career and self-development today. For the final session on today's Career Summer program, we will be joined by our final speaker of the day. And interestingly, he's the only guy for today. So let's get into it. I'm going to tell you our speaker. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll get into a conversation with him. Informed by his direct experience with grief and depression, he has dedicated his life to helping people, young and old, to come out of their poor mental health states. And it does this through therapy, counseling. It's under control, right? Are we good? Apologies for that slight glitch. We're back and ready to go. So before that break, I was telling you about our speaker, our final speaker for today. I'm just going to go over that again. So based on his direct experience, informed by that experience of mental, about grief and depression, He has dedicated his life to helping people come out of their poor mental health states through therapy, counseling, speaking at conferences, and seminars like this. He is the principal and CEO of Real Consulting, a consulting firm that specializes in helping organizations and individuals to move strategically from basic mental health awareness towards meaningful, measurable action. He currently serves as a board director at the World Federation for Mental Health, where he oversees the activities of the African region. Boys and girls, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome our speaker for the final session today, Mr. Toluche Francis. Welcome, sir. Good afternoon. Oh, it's still morning. Good morning.
Can you hear me now? Please let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. So thanks for that introduction. To the chances and the topic I have before me today is quite a very interesting one, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do something. Social expectations, real life expectations, and the expectations that you have of yourself. Now, let's first of all ask ourselves, what is expectation, or what do we understand by the word expectations? Of course, when you talk about expectations, basically what people hope to see, what people think that you can do, what people want you to do, want you to say, where they want you to be, where they want to see you. And these expectations could either be what you have of yourself or what people have of you, right? And when we look at social expectation, it's simple. It's simply saying what the society expects of you, what society really wants to see from you, what society wants to hear from you. Society tends to put us at a certain point. Society tends to put us at a certain level, so on a certain pedestal. They kind of gauge us. They kind of want us to be something, want us to be somewhere. And you see, when you live by social expectation, you can find yourself hitting yourself, beating yourself because you're struggling to get to that point. Now, here is the thing. When you go on social media, for example, you see a lot of things being posted by people, especially Instagram. And now LinkedIn seems to be following that direction. Everybody seems to be making the headway in their life. Everybody seems to be at the pinnacle of their career. Everybody seems to be passing their exams. Nobody's failing. Nobody's repeating, and all that. But the truth of the matter is, reach out to one-on-one, you would realize that people are actually having challenges. People are actually failing exams. People are actually messing up in their careers. People are actually having struggles at home. But it's because society expects us to be perfect. Because society expects us to be bigger than all of these things. Nobody is coming out to actually tell you the real thing that they are struggling with. Nobody is coming out to tell you the challenges that they are facing. Nobody is coming out to tell you the real deal as to what exactly is happening in their lives. And so you find yourself under pressure to actually measure up to what the society wants you to do. I need to realize that this is a challenge and you must address it as a challenge. What are the expectations that you set for yourself and the expectations that society has set for you? Everyone has a goal, everyone has a dream, everyone has a place that they want to get to. But the truth of the matter is, you must come to a point in your life where you're able to measure the expectations versus the reality. Perhaps you have expected that by now you would be in a tertiary institution, or perhaps you had expected that by now you would be working. Fine, you had that expectation. But what's the reality on the ground at the moment? What exactly is it that is happening right now? Where exactly are you at the moment? You need to come to terms with your reality and work with the reality that you have on ground. Now, when you plan and work with this reality, it helps you think carefully, all right, and map out a plan for your life. It helps you decide what next step to take. Now, don't forget that before you expectations, you've been planning at this age, this is where I would be, at this point, this is where I would be. But hey, life challenges, events, whatever it is, has dealt a blow on you, and you are not where you thought you would be by now. Don't cry over it. Don't go to social media and compare yourself. Ask yourself where I am right now. What can I do with what I have? Now, what is the difference between expectations and reality? Quickly and briefly. Expectations, right, are those things that we consider as possible and likely to occur. I'll take that again. Expectations are those things that we consider possible and likely to occur. Whereas reality, okay, is where we are right now, the state of things as they are. The state of things as they are. Perhaps you have lost a loved one. You never expected that you would lose that person. Perhaps you have someone who is ill at home. You never expected that such a person will be ill at this moment. But here you are. Here you are, that has happened. So you don't go about crying and mourning what has happened. Instead, you come to a point where you accept and understand that these things have happened. I need to live with it. Reality includes everything that we have experienced. Whatsoever thing we have experienced is part of what reality really is. It is not a fake expectation of anything. It's the fact that you must accept that these things have happened and I have to live with them. Now, there are three ways to reduce the gap of expectation. Now, because expectations come with stress. Now, in case you don't know, there is a trap that is called the expectation versus the reality trap. And it is despite what your common sense may tell you, research has shown that people, right, are very quick to predict what will happen. People are very quick to predict things, and because they have predicted those things, they find it difficult to accept that things can change. They find it difficult to accept that things are likely to change. They find it difficult to accept that things will change. So, how do you reduce the gap between expectations and reality? Number one, make your expectations explicit when you make any request. Now, if you're making requests from people, if you're making requests from others, be clear about what you want so that you don't assume. Don't make your expectations based on assumption. Number two, help others to be clear about the expectations of you. Let people be clear of the expectations of you and be clear of the expectations of yourself. And number three, be mindful of the expectation and reality gaps in your relationship. What are the expectations that you have of that person? What are the expectations that you have of that relationship you have with that person? And you see, your relationship this relationship I'm talking about doesn't have to be romantic. I'm talking about relationship with your parents, relationship with your siblings, relationship with your classmates, relationship with your co-workers, relationship with those that you attend to, if you're a caregiver, if you're a teacher, if you're whatever it is. Let the expectation be clear and live with the reality that this is the reality of things. Now, let me take us through the stress and how to manage your expectations. Number one, ask yourself what you're expecting from a situation. Be very clear by asking yourself what you're expecting from a situation. Number two, look for the positives in what you already have. So you're not where you expected you would be. You're not where you thought you would be. But can you look at the positives of where you are at the moment? Is there anything positive about where you are? Is there anything you can take on to say, yes, I am where I am and I am happy with where I am? What are the positives that you can take from those moments? Number three, remind yourself that social media posts aren't always realistic. In fact, I'd like to dwell on this a bit. I tell people a lot of times that it is what people want you to know that is put on social media. Nobody comes on social media to watch their dirty linen except there's a fight. So if you go on Instagram and you see people share with you beautiful stuff, don't get carried away and think that their life is all perfect. They are only sharing with you what they want you to know. Your own case, how about you? Would you go out there and tell people that you failed the exam? Would you go and tell people that someone broke out? Would you go out there and tell people that this has happened to you? There is an image of yourself that you want to put out there. And that's what people do. And so they give you that picture that all is perfect. They give you that picture that all is going well. And you sit down there and you're mourning and you're crying and you're like, oh no, things are not going well for me. How can things be going well for this person? Friends, listeners, I want you to know that everyone has an expectation. But the truth is, you must draw a line between what you expect of yourself and what the reality is. Many people today have slipped into depression. Many people today have lost their sense of living, simply because they've tried to live by social expectations and they've refused to accept the reality of where they are for them to move forward. Until you accept where you are, it will be difficult for you to make progress. Until you accept where you are, until you accept the reality that is on ground, it will be difficult for you to make progress because you keep deceiving yourself that it's not true. You keep deceiving yourself that this is not you, this is not where you are, when in actual sense, this is you. Now, so I've said three things. One, ask yourself what you're expecting from a situation. Two, look for the positives in what you already have. Three, remind yourself that social media posts aren't always realistic. And four, don't beat yourself for feeling disappointed. Trust me, disappointment will come. Disappointment will come, whether you like it or not. It is how you handle this disappointment that goes a long way in determining how you'd come out. Now, the truth of the matter is, when situations change, when your expectations are not met, what do you do? Do you lay on your bed and weep all day? Do you lay on your bed and cry all day? Or do you get yourself up and say, now this is the reality? Where do we go from here? And I don't know what you're experiencing. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know the challenges that you seem not to be able to get a hand over. But I want you to rise up. Look at where you are versus where you thought you'd be and tell yourself, things might not have gone the way I expected them to go. But with what I have right now, I'm going to get myself up and I'll keep pushing. I will not allow this situation to weigh me down. I will not allow this situation to put me on the ground. My job here is not to motivate you, it's to wake you up. Say, look, you can't afford to sleep there just because things are not going the way you expected them to go. You will do yourself great disservice, putting your gifts, your talent into oblivion if you do not rise up. Look at what you have right now. Look at where you are and say to yourself, this is what I have right now. I'll make the best of it. Now, a problem with expectations was made famous by Charles Dickens in his novel, Great Expectations. Now, in this novel, the main character, Pip, inherits money from a secret benefactor. He views this fortune as a stepping stone to marrying the girl of his dreams. When he ultimately learned that the money was not necessarily part of that larger plan, he realized they had taken for granted so many important relationships and gifts in this life. His expectations had robbed him of fully appreciating his reality. Your expectations have a way of robbing you from accepting reality. Now, research backs up this idea that we may not fully appreciate what we have when we are expecting more on comparing what we have to what we could have. I'll take that again. Research says that we may not fully appreciate what we have when we're expecting more or comparing what we have to what we could have. Now, there was a particular study that found that participants who were exposed to a subliminal reminder of wealth, like they were exposed to some amount of wealth, right, spent less time savoring a chocolate bar and exhibited less enjoyment of the experience than others who weren't reminded of wealth. So it's interesting to note that expectations have a way of hindering you, right, from actually enjoying more than you can enjoy because you have high expectations and you are not able to pay attention to your reality. Instead, you're focusing on your expectations. And because of your expectations, you would find yourself not paying attention to even the things around you. So you must come to that point where you look at what you have around you and say, this is it. Now, your expectations can get better of you when you expect more than what is realistic in a given situation. For example, you're a student and you're expecting that you're supposed to have about 500,000 naira in your account or 1 million naira in your account, but you're not doing anything. How do you want to have such money? You have an expectation, but is it real? How realistic is this? So you can have realistic expectations and unrealistic expectations. For some of you, you expect your parents to be something to you, and they are not, and you wake up every day and you're crying over this. But the question is, what they ask you right now, what's the best they can do with it? So our expectations can create significant stress when they don't match up to reality. As like I said, consider social media and how it contributes. We compare our own worst moments that we do not share online with other people's best moments, forgetting that they are only sharing their best moments with you, and you have your worst moment. And when you share your own best moment as well, another person is sharing is also comparing your own best moment with their own worst moment. But you need to be that way. So it's important that you take a deeper look into how your expectations affect your mood. So how do you start by building awareness of expectations? Number one, when you go into a new situation, ask yourself what you expect to happen. Two, ask yourself if your expectations should be this way. Where did they come from and are they realistic? Three, when you feel disappointed, try to think about whether it was realistic to expect such a thing that you were hopeful for. If not, think about managing your expectations and how to do that. We all need to manage our expectations. And when they do not match up with what we're expecting, when things don't match what we're expecting, you don't need to beat yourself up, you don't need to feel disappointed. Instead, compare yourself to others who have less and see to it that you appreciate what you have. I'll conclude by saying there are 3 levels in this life, and you need people at each of these levels to remind you the reality of life. Number one, those that are not on the same status with you, lower level. So let's say you're here. This is you. You need people that are here, lower than you are. Now, these people remind you that you were once here. And so they also have the tendency and the opportunity of getting here. But when you look down on them, you are reminded that you were once at this point in your life before you got here. That you need those that are here. This reminds you that there is space for everyone, and you are not all here. You are reminded people will always catch up with you. And now, those above you reminded that life is a journey, and everything you experience leads to where you get to. And so, as you look at these 3 stages, you're reminded of your expectations of your reality. That expected by now you'll be here, but you're still here. But you know there's someone here, and you're here. And so that reminds you that even though this is where I am right now, I can also get here. So what do I do to get here? Though I am not here now, but this is where I desire to be. I am here right now. How do I get here? Rather than crying that you haven't gotten here, you're able to accept the reality that this is where you are and then begin to work carefully towards getting here. I hope that this short this morning, short talk this morning, encourages someone to pick up their pen and their notepad and say, yes, I am not where I am supposed to be, but I'm also not worse off. But there are people below, there are people above. Life is a journey. Though my expectations may not have been met, I'll work towards where I want to get to rather than crying and weeping because I'm not where I want to be. So like I always say, go out there and break a leg. Thank you. I am now open to questions.
Now that was amazing. Thank you to Mr.
Thank you.
So we're going to delve into our question and answer session
So
right
we're going to delve into our question and answer
now.
session right now.
It's like you were envisioning
It's
or
like we're
anticipating
envisioning
questions that might want to come, and
or
it just
anticipating
seemed as
questions that
though
might
you
want
asked
to, and
that
it
you
just seemed as
just
though you have
yeah,
that
so you might follow.
yeah,
So you are
might
also you are
follow.
reaching out to
You
people,
are also you are
you are any of our
YouTube,
centers,
you are
or
any of our centers,
comes across.
please
So you can
or
ask Mr.
comes across.
So
You
you
can
can
ask
start
Mr.
okay, so I have with me Ayo and
Okay,
she
so I have with me Ayo
going to ask
and she
questions as well. So
and I'm
let's
going to
just
ask questions as well. So
I'll
let's
start with
just let's just
Ayo.
I'll start with Ayo.
There seems to be some background noise. I didn't hear a question properly.
Yeah, good question again.
I said, how are you able to
I said,
identify
how are you
somebody
able
who
to
is
identify somebody?
Mr. Dulce, can you hear me?
Satoshi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. But I didn't hear a complete question. How are you able to identify what?
Okay, so let's try to ask the question again if you hear me.
Okay, so let's
and
let's try to ask the question.
who's trying to keep things to themselves?
And
And how are you able to identify
who's
somebody
trying to
who
keep themselves?
is
And how are you able to identify somebody?
Okay, most people tend to keep to themselves. Are you able to identify what? Okay, persons with issues. Okay. That's a very, very important and serious question because for people who keep to themselves, getting them to talk might really be difficult, right? So, um, trying to be with them, trying to be their friends might be the way out, right? Because for some of them, when you try to ask them questions. They don't want to come out clearly about what is wrong with them, but they are really seeking to talk. They really want to talk. They really want to have that conversation, right? And so in my years working as a teen mentor, as a teen counselor, I've come to realize that being their friend might just be the easiest way of getting them to talk. Pick up something that interests them. As you interact with them, you know what interests them. And from there, you're able to penetrate into them. I hope that answers the question. So be their friends, get close to them, and that way you're able to penetrate rather than going directly to just say, "Hey, what's up? What's wrong with you? Do you think you have issues?" No, they will not answer you. Such person will not answer you, right? But try to move closer to such a person. It might be tough at the beginning, but keep at it. I see another question here. How do you identify your expectations? Pretty much, you know within yourself what your expectation is. You know within yourself what it is that you want to achieve. You know within yourself what your dreams are. Okay, so you need to just wake up every day and be true to yourself. I think the major challenge is being true to yourself in terms of what you really want, in terms of what you really dream of becoming. So you begin to identify those things, those are expectations. What did you dream of becoming? Where did you see yourself some years before now? Are you there or are you not? As you begin to see those things, those are your expectations. Do you get angry? Do you get disappointed when things don't appear good to you or don't match up with you? That means you had expectations of that thing. You have expectations of that person. Someone does something and you feel taken aback or you're unhappy about it.
All right, so let's
Right. So let's
Okay, sir, you talked about
okay, so you talked about
like bad emotions.
like
So I'm
bad
wondering,
emotions.
that is it
So I'm
actually
wondering
the
if that is
right side?
actually the right side. Very
So I'm like,
simple.
is there anything
So I'm like, is there any
that's linking to the
it's
positive or bright side?
positive or bright side?
Okay, I didn't get his question completely. His volume was fluctuating.
so basically, if you can hear me, let me just try to reiterate what you shared.
So basically, if you can hear me, let me just try to reiterate
You have
what you
taught us
shared.
this, that we should
You
try
have
to
taught
look at
us
the
this
bright
that we
side of
should
things, even when things
try
are
to look
not
at the bright
really
side of things, even
going
when
well.
things are not
But
really
he's saying that
going
that is
well. But
very
he's
not
saying that that is
not it's
very
not
not
easy as it sounds. Basically, that's what
not
he's trying to say.
and it's not
So,
easy
like,
as
do
it
you have
sounds
any
basically.
tips
That's what he's trying to
for
say.
him
Yeah.
or
So
for
like, do you
us
have
as to
any
how
tips for
we can
him or for
navigate
us
that
as to how
of
we can navigate
seeing
that
bright side of things, even
of
when it doesn't look
seeing
okay?
bright light even when it doesn't look okay?
All right, thank you. I'm a kind of person who is very careful with giving tips because we all are not living in the same environment. We all are not in the same space. And so what works for Catherine may not work for Charles, right? But there is a universal principle that everyone can apply, and that is whatever goes into you affects your thinking, affects your feeling, and affects your behavior. So I classify this what I call a problem thinking, a problem feeling, and a problem behavior thing. So what do you ingest? What do you take in? What do you watch? What do you listen to? What are the words that you allow to settle within you? Now, as those words get in, right, as you see those things, they create a thought process within you. Those thought processes create a feeling within you. Those feelings could either be negative or positive. And as the feelings and the thoughts mix together, you behave or act in a certain way that is commensurate with those feelings or those thoughts. And so you need to guard against what you take in, what you watch, which is why I tell people that look, if every time you scroll on social media, you become sad, you begin to compare yourself, then you need to stay off. Because it means that you have certain expectations, and as you see people do something, you're like, this should have been me. But it is not you, right? So what do you do for it to become you? Is to tell yourself, right now, why am I feeling the way I feel? And how do I act on these feelings? So if you think that you should be topping the class, you're not, and you think that what I'm not topping the class, and begin to feel like you are a dullard or you're not smart. Okay, the moment you begin to feel that way, if care is not taken, people begin to ride on you, people begin to bully you. So what do you do? Why are you failing? Is to sit and ask yourself, why did I fail or why am I failing? And then look at, when did this begin? When did this change happen? Were there events that occurred before this change or were that happened at the same time this change began to occur? And then seek help. If you're not able to help yourself fully in terms of tracking those things and working on them, which is why you have questions that can help you. But if you're able to, you need to find out, okay, so the situations or the circumstances that happen there shouldn't have this kind of effect on me, and they become very conscious of them. I begin to work towards them. But there is no one size fits all, right? Because your experience might be different from the other person's experience. The environment that this person is might also be different from the environment that the other person is. So if I come here to say, do this, do that, and realize that, look, I have parents who beat me all the time, but these other persons have parents who beat him all the time, that might affect the acting or the actions that you will take. But the truth is, be true to yourself and be able to backdate or take a journey back as to when you began to notice the changes in you and see how you were before now, or were you doing before now, before this change occurred, right? And that question says, what do you do when your expectations are not achieved? I mean, like I said earlier, your expectations are not achieved. You don't sit down and just monitor them. Sit down and ask yourself, were these expectations realistic initially? If they are not, how do I set realistic expectations based on the resources that I have, based on my gifts and my skills, based on the environment that I found myself, based on the people that are available to help me. So rather than sit down and mourn the fact that expectations are not achieved, re-strategize. Look at what you have set for yourself initially. How realistic was it? Can I set them again? Now, let me usually think about SMART goals, right? I'd like to bring that into expectations. Now, that's the fact that, are your expectations, are you able to monitor them, right? Are you able to look at your growth? Are they realistic, right? Are they actionable? Okay. Are they time bound? Right. You need to look at your expectations in that light and tell yourself, okay, this expectation I did not attach time to. Sometimes you just make yourself like, in 15 years' time, I'm going to be this. What are you going to do to get there? This is where a number of times we find out our expectations are not met because we just see those expectations, but we do not map out what you will do to get there. So look at the expectations that are not achieved, right? Ask yourself, why didn't I achieve this? Take a journey back, okay? And ask them, were they even smart in the first place? Were they even realistic in the first place? And then work towards that. Thank you. I can't hear you.
Profile, you talked about how
You talked about how you
got some of the
got
from experience.
some of this
So
from
we are not just
experience.
teaching what
So
we've
we are not just
read in a
teaching
book
what we've
or
read
stuff
in a
like that.
book
You are
or
to
stuff
teach
like that.
from a place
You
of
are to
experience. So
teach
my
from a
question
place
now
of
is
experience. So
actually a
my
case
question
study.
now
I
is
know a young
actually a
kid who
case
was
study. I
mom
know a
died.
young kid whose mom
That
died.
literally messed up her
That
entire
literally
education.
messed up her entire education.
Was close to her exam period, and
Close
then
to her
she lost her
exams,
mom
exam period, and then she lost her mom.
and it took a toll on her education.
And
It took a toll on
toll on
other
her
areas as
education, and
well.
toll on other
So
areas
I don't know
well.
if you can
So
help
I don't know if
some of
you
us
can
probably
help
dealing with grief,
some of us
maybe
probably
lost
dealing
loved
with grief,
ones,
maybe lost
and
loved ones, and it's
it pertaining to emotions
things to
and loss.
emotions
What would
and loss. What would
All right. I got your question. It's quite a tough one. So I was a little boy when my family moved from Sokoto to Lagos, and that took me back educationally because the standard was quite different by the time we got to Lagos. And then I continued, all right, and then later on my family had to move again, and then I lost another year. Now I was in my second year in secondary school, SS2 rather, when my mom died. I think just some weeks to my third term examination, and it really dealt a great blow on me, and that affected me even until my SS3, and um, I had to, resit my WAEC, my JAMBA, and all that, and even years after, because I didn't deal with it. Now, I shared that because a lot of times we think that we have dealt with grief, or what we simply did was to sweep it under the carpet and move on with life. Trust me, you can't deal with grief all by yourself. You need help. Because you always tell yourself the unrealistic truth. I'm fine. No, no, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And everything is okay, I'm fine, I'm fine. All that you need is just something to trigger that experience again. And so, based on my personal experience and my work with people, I tell them that look, the truth of the matter is you must come to that point where you tell yourself realistically that there is a problem. Just a minute. Where you must tell yourself that there is a problem and I need to deal with this. Where you're truthful to yourself that you haven't finished dealing with the problem of grief and you face it squarely. Grief is not something that you take tablets or injections for and that's all. No, I want to tell you that accept the fact that it exists. Accept the fact that you are hurt. Accept the fact that you have lost something or someone dear to you that is irreplaceable. Nobody and nothing can. They will tell you that you step down. No, 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 nobody can. Tell yourself the truth that this is gone. The most difficult point is accepting that that person is gone. The moment you're able to accept it, the next thing is tell yourself, how do I move from here? And so it's a tough point in your life, and I agree. There's also that point where you either choose to deceive yourself that you are fine now, or you tell yourself the truth that you need help before it becomes a thorn in your mind. So please seek help. And that's why I wrote this book, Beyond Blue, a step-by-step guide to coping with grief and loss, preventing and managing depression. I wrote this book from my own experience and from a professional angle. And one of the things that I shared there is that it has to do with you that you're grieving and also how you can help a grieving life. Let me see if I can share one or two things from the book. So I said here, I said, just a minute. I said, I began by sharing the story of how I lost my mother. I said, grief is defined as a multifaceted response to loss, particularly to the loss of someone or someone that has died, to which a bond or affection was formed. Although conventionally focused on emotional response to loss, it also has physical, cognitive, behavioral, social, cultural, and philosophical dimension. And sometimes I talk about bereavement. But of course, bereavement refers specifically to the person recovering from the death of a loved one. So we're here to talk about grief and what it is basically. And of course, it has a trajectory. So you find yourself at that point where you think that you are fine when you are actually denying yourself. But there's a trajectory, right, that talks about resilience, talks about recovery, talks about chronic dysfunction, and then what we call delayed grief or trauma. A lot of times we find ourselves delaying the grief that we should feel right now. And by the time it finally hits us, it's usually terrible and worse. And of course, the 5 stages of grief, where if you can conquer the first stage, which is denial, that is, you have to accept that this person has gone. If you can conquer that, you're likely to be angry. Either angry at your creator or angry at the fact that you're not there to help that person and you begin to bargain. Depression might set in. But you see, the moment you accept that the person is gone, trust me, your healing process has just begun. So, I encourage you to understand that grief is not like malaria or fever or headache that just take medication for. It's a journey, and it's a journey that you need to start early so that it doesn't become a delayed grief that ends up becoming trauma for you. So this book is here. You can get it on Amazon, but you can also get a soft copy if you so desire. You can just reach out to me. I hope this is helpful to the person. Are you there?
Very much. Mr. Tolushi
very much.
Francis, John
Mr. Tolushi Francis
extremely
is
well
gone
and job
extremely
at doing
well and such
mental
a
health,
job at doing mental health,
depression,
depression,
expectation, a whole lot. And I
expectation,
like the
a
fact that you talked
whole
about
lot.
social
And I like the
well
fact that
too,
you talked about
how
social well
how
too. How
yeah,
how
and that's not all
yeah,
that
and that's the whole
that might not be another aspect to speak my life based on this
another aspect
expectation.
to my
I want
life.
to say a very big thank you to
I
you, Mr.
want to
Tolushi,
say very big thank you to you that
for adding
for
such value on today.
adding
As
such
we suffer
value on
so very
today.
much,
As we suffer
thank you so
so
very much.
much.
You
Thank
have
you
a
so
lot
very
of
much.
questions.
You have a lot of questions.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, now that said, I want to give a special shout out to our friends at the VI Center, Rhythm Christian Church of God, City of David, and those who are watching us from An amazing session it has been. To all our three speakers today, we want to say a very, very big thank you to you. We had Mrs. Abimbola earlier this morning. We had Mrs. Tomi Balogun, and just gone by was Mr. Tolushe Francis. It's been great. How about you? What do you think?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. And you?
It's been exciting and it has been a lovely experience.
A lovely experience. So this is day 2. We have 3 more days. For this week is a packed one. Now tomorrow, somebody said tomorrow. I'm sure Aya's gonna love this because she is quite big, passionate about the media. Tomorrow we're gonna have. You know what? You guys tell them what we're having tomorrow.
We're going to have Odioni Gallo.
We're also going to be having Mrs. Omoni Abuji again.
Alrighty, so you see, tomorrow is packed. For those who don't know, VG Adams is a media personality. Odio Negalo is a professional footballer, and Mrs. Agumbiade is an educationist. So it looks like a really packed one tomorrow. Make sure you log in on time. Make sure you come to the physical centers on time. We have gifts to give the first 5 people that come tomorrow. Plus, you also stand the chance of winning and of getting internships in some of these organizations that are partnering with us. All right. So on behalf of the entire FOCAD Global Concept, myself and everything, I want to say thank you. By the way, my name is Tola Omoni. I'll be your host today, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow. All right. So till then,
Bye.
bye-bye.